a doctor with a disability for 20 years. In order to give himself a new lease on life, he injected bat genes into his spinal cord to prevent the experiment from getting out of control. He had his assistant tie him securely to the experimental bed. However, an accident still occurred. A mercenary suddenly burst in. The assistant immediately looked back. When the assistant looked back at the laboratory, Morbius on the experimental bed had vanished. The assistant entered the laboratory to investigate. The scene before him filled him with terror. Morbius was hanging upside down from the ceiling, with terrifying fangs protruding from his mouth, constantly emitting growls. The mercenary was stunned by the sight, instinctively raising his gun to shoot Morbius. This action completely enraged the mutated Morbius. He suddenly pounced on the mercenary and began to devour him. The female assistant hurriedly closed the door upon seeing this, and kept banging on the glass, trying to snap Morbius out of his trance. Just as Morbius was beginning to calm down, the mercenary's companions suddenly arrived and aimed their guns at him. The female assistant, Martina, tried to stop them, but was pushed down and hit her head, fainting. Seeing Martina injured, Morbius completely lost his mind. He broke through the bulletproof glass and charged out of the laboratory. Seeing the female assistant with her eyes tightly closed, Morbius assumed she was already dead. Anger instantly clouded his mind. In an instant, he had eliminated everyone inside the room. The remaining mercenaries, taking advantage of Morbius feeding on blood, hurriedly closed the steel door. Upon contact with the blood, Morbius's more primal desires were awakened, especially upon seeing the unconscious female assistant. The murderous intent in his heart grew even stronger. Even the thick steel door could not withstand his crazy impact. Soon, the remaining mercenaries became lambs awaiting slaughter. They hadn't even confirmed the enemy's location before being ruthlessly hunted down by Morbius, who descended from above. When Morbius came to his senses, he was shocked to discover that his once frail, barely mobile body was now muscular and powerful. Not only had he become young and strong, but his limbs were as agile as those of an ordinary person. He returned to the laboratory filled with confusion, but upon seeing the bodies littering the floor, he had no memory of what had just happened. So he turned on the surveillance cameras to seek answers. When he saw the footage on the screen, Morbius couldn't believe it. He had turned into a bloodthirsty monster. A wave of nausea swept over him, and he began vomiting violently. At this point, he knew he couldn't stay here anymore. He deleted all the surveillance footage, called for help, and then took the remaining serum and jumped into the sea to flee quickly. He had to return to the laboratory and destroy all the data.